أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. آمنت بالله صدق الله العظيم. I will call upon our namazi of this masjid, Muhtaram Mushtaq Ibrahim Sahib, to come forward and recite Naat Maqbool Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sallallahu Alayka Ya Rasulallah Wasallam Alayka Ya Habib Allah Sallallahu Alayka Ya
رسول اللہ وسلم علیک یا حبیب اللہ. چمک تجھ سے پاتے ہیں سب پانے والے، چمک تجھ سے پاتے سب پانے والے، میرا دل بھی چمکا دے چمکانے والے، میرا دل بھی چمکا دے چمکانے والے. برستا نہیں دیکھ کر ابر رحمت، برستا نہیں دیکھ کر ابر رحمت، بدوں پر بھی برسا دے برسانے والے، بدوں پر بھی برسا دے برسانے والے، میرا دل بھی چمکا دے چمکانے والے. مدینے کے کھیتے خدا تجھ کو رکھے، مدینے کے کھیتے خدا تجھ کو رکھے، غریبوں فقیروں کے ٹھہرانے والے، غریبوں فقیروں کے ٹھہرانے والے، میرا دل بھی چمکا دے چمکانے والے. تو زندہ ہے واللہ تو زندہ ہے واللہ تو زندہ ہے واللہ تو زندہ ہے واللہ، میرے چشمے عالم سے چھپ جانے والے، میرے چشمے عالم سے چھپ جانے والے، میرا دل بھی چمکا دے چمکانے والے. میں مجرم ہوں آقا مجھے ساتھ لے لو میں مجرم ہوں آقا مجھے ساتھ لے لو کہ راستے میں ہے جا بجا تانے والے کے راستے میں ہے جا بجا تانے والے میرا دل بھی چمکا دے چمکانے والے حرم کی جمی اور قدم رکھ کے چلنا حرم کی جمی اور قدم رکھ کے چلنا ارے سر کا موقع ہے او جانے والے ارے سر کا موقع ہے او جانے والے میرا دل بھی چمکا دے چمکانے والے رہے گا یوں ہی ان کا چرچا رہے گا یوں ہی ان کا چرچا رہے گا پڑے خاک ہو جائے جل جانے والے پڑے خاک ہو جائے جل جانے والے میرا دل بھی چمکا دے چمکانے والے رضا نفس دشمن ہے دم میں نہ آنا رضا نفس دشمن ہے دم میں نہ آنا کہاں تم نے دیکھے ہیں چندرانے والے کہاں تم نے دیکھے ہیں چندرانے والے چمک تجھ سے پاتے ہیں سب پانے والے میرا دل بھی چمکا دے چمکانے والے
Call upon Brother Shahad to come forward and recite other Nati Maqbul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or Mankabat. Sallallahu Alayka Ya Rasulallah wa sallam alayka Ya Habiballah Sallallahu Alayka Ya رسول اللہ وسلم علیک یا حبیب اللہ میرے حسین تجھے سلام میرے حسین تجھے سلام میرے حسین تجھے سلام میرے حسین تجھے سلام السلام یا حسین السلام یا حسین کر لیا نوش جس نے شہادت کا جام اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام میرے حسین تجھے سلام میرے حسین تجھے سلام
جن کو دھوکے سے کوفے بلایا گیا، جن کو دھوکے سے کوفے بلایا گیا، جن کو بیٹھے بٹھائے ستایا گیا، جن کے بچوں کو بھوکا رلایا گیا، جن کی گردن پہ خنجر چلایا گیا، اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام، السلام یا حسین، السلام یا حسین، میرے حسین تجھے سلام، میرے حسین سلام کر چکا وہ ابھی اپنی حجت تمام، لے کے اللہ اور اپنے نانا کا نام، لے کے اللہ اور اپنے نانا کا نام، کوفیوں کو سنائے خدا کا کلام، اور فدا ہو گیا جان خیر الانام، اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام، السلام یا حسین، السلام یا حسین، میرے حسین تجھے سلام، میرے حسین تجھے سلام، السلام یا حسین، جس نے حق کربلا میں ادا کر دیا، اپنے نانا کا وعدہ وفا کر دیا، اپنے نانا کا وعدہ وفا کر دیا، جس کو تیروں سے چلنی کرایا گیا، جن کے گردن پہ خنجر چلایا گیا، اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام، السلام یا حسین، السلام یا حسین، میرے حسین تجھے سلام، میرے تجھے سلام، شاہ است حسین، بادشاہ است حسین، دین است حسین، دی پناہ است حسین، سرداد نداد درد دست یزید، حقا کی بنا لا الہ است حسین، السلام یا حسین، السلام یا حسین، جس کا جنت سے جوڑا منایا گیا، جس کو دوش نبی پر بٹھایا گیا، جس کی بھائی زہر کو پلایا گیا، جن کے بچوں کو پیاسا رلایا گیا، اس حسین ابن حیدر پہ لاکھوں سلام، السلام یا حسین، السلام یا حسین، میرے حسین تجھے سلام۔
Shall I will call upon Hafiz Tahir to come forward. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasul Allah. وسلم عليك يا حبيب الله. بشرى لنا نلنا المنى زال العنا وفالحنا. بشرى لنا نلنا المنى زال العنا وفالهنا. والدهر أنجز وعده والبشر أضحى معلنا. بشرى لنا نلنا المنى زال العنا وفالحنا. يا نفس طيبي باللقاء يا عين قري عيونا. يا نفس طيبي باللقاء يا عين قري عيونا. هذا جمال المصطفى أنوار لاحت لنا. بشرى لنا نلنا المنى زال العنا وفالحنا. يا طيبات ماذا نقول وفيك قد حل الرسول. يا طيبات ماذا نقول وفيك قد حل الرسول. وكلنا يرجو الوصول لمحمد نبينا. بشرى لنا نلنا المنى زال العنا وفالحنا. صل وسلم يا سلام على النبي بدر التمام. صل وسلم يا سلام على النبي بدر التمام والآل والصحب الكرام صلى عليهم ربنا. بشرى لنا نلنا المنى زال العنا وفالحنا. والدهر أنجز وعده والبشر أضحى معلنا. بشرى لنا نلنا المنى زال العنا وفالحنا. بشرى لنا نلنا المنى زال العنا وفالهنا. ما شاء الله جزاك الله.
صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وسلم عليك يا حبيب الله. मैं तो पंजतन का गुलाम हूँ. मैं तो पंजतन का गुलाम हूँ. मैं गुलाम ने रसूल हूँ. मैं तो पंजतन का गुलाम हूँ. मुझे इश्क है तो खुदा से है. मुझे इश्क है तो रसूल से. ये करम है सारा बतूल का. ये करम है सारा बतूल का. मेरे मुंह से आए महक सदा. जो मैं नाम लूं तेरा झूम के. मैं तो पंजतन का गुलाम हूँ. मैं तो पंजतन. हुआ कैसे तन से सर जुदा. जहाँ इश्क हो वहीं करबला. मेरी बात उन्हीं की बात है. मेरे सामने वो ही जात है. वही जिनको सैरे खुदा कहीं, मैं तो पंजतन का गुलाम हूँ, मैं तो पंजतन का गुलाम हूँ.
नहमदुहु व नुसल्ली व नुसल्लिमु अला रसूलिहिल करीम, अम्मा बाद, फ़क़ाल अल्लाहु तबारक व तआला फ़ी किताबिहिल करीम, लक़द जाअकुम रसूलुम मिन अनफुसिकुम अज़ीज़, वक़ाल अल्लाहु तबारक व तआला फ़ी किताबिहिल करीम, क़द जाअकुम मिनल्लाहि नूर व किताबुम मुबीन, सदक़ल्लाहुल अज़ीम व सदक़ रसूलुहुन नबियुल अमीनुल मुख़्तारुल करीम, व नहनु अला ज़ालिका लमिनश शाहिदीन व शाकिरीन वल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन. इंतहाई मोहतरम और मुकर्रम मेरे बुज़ुर्गों, नौजवान साथियों, इंतहाई मोहतरम मेरी माओ और बहनों, आइए हम और आप मिलकर आक़ाए नामदार, हम सब के ताजदार, हुज़ूर ख़ातमुल मुरसलीन रहमतुल लिल आलमीन अरवाहुना फ़िदा सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की बारगाह में मिलकर मोहब्बत के साथ नजराने दुरूद व सलाम पेश करें. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला सय्यिदिना व हबीबिना व शफ़ीइना व मौलाना मुहम्मदिन मअदिनिल जूदि वल करम व आलिहि व सहबिही व बारिक व सल्लिम सलातन व सलामन अलैका या रसूलल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु तआला अलैहि वसल्लम. We have been gathering in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and every day we sit, we listen, and we talk about the greatest people that have ever walked on the face of earth. If you look at the Holy Quran and the description that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given about his beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, it is amazing. In some places Allah says that لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ, that this beloved Rasul is such that he is very keen for you to be on the right path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then in some place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that the Noor and Kitab Mubin, an open book, has come to you. Various descriptions that you will find in the sifat of Rasul Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now these companions and these Ahle Bayt Athhar, they took these qualities from Rasul Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they tried to have those qualities in them, striving for the ummah and working hard to bring ummah to the right path of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. And when it comes to Noor, Noor is an Arabic word which means a light. I've mentioned in one of the Jummah bayans that Allah Azza wa Jal, He stated in this ayah, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ النُّورُ وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ. A Noor, light, and Kitab Mubin came to you. Why Allah mentions the light with Kitab Mubin? Because if you want to read the book, I'm not talking about these gadgets nowadays, but if you go in detail, you still need the light. If you want to read a physical book, you need the light, be it natural light, daylight, or be it the light which is made by the mankind. You need that nur, you need that light to read the book. When it comes to Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He stated Allah sent Nur and Kitab-e Mubin. So we know Kitab-e Mubin is Quran. What is the Nur? Then the Mufassirun, they told us, the commentators of the Holy Quran, they explained to us that without Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam and his Nur, it was impossible to read and understand the Quran. Without Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, we cannot actually understand the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then when Allah sent His Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam as a nur, then what about his family? What about those who are the children of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam? Then Ala Hazrat Imam Ahl Sunnat Fazil Barelvi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he said, तेरी नस्ल पाक में है बच्चा बच्चा नूर का. Ya Rasulullah, in your nasl, in your lineage, every child that came after you, that each and every child is nur and light. Not like light like Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, but they are the light of guidance. Look at Sayyidina Imam Hassan Mujtaba, look at Sayyidina Imam Hussein Shahid Karbala, look at their children, look at Sayyidina Imam Zainul Abidin radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. They all became the pillars of guidance. In a way, they were light for people to walk in underneath and find the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah said, तेरी नस्ल पाक में है बच्चा बच्चा नूर का, तू है आईने नूर. आईने नूर, आइन का मतलब होता है उर्दू में एक मतलब होता है चश्मा, a stream, if we say in English. So Allah Hazrat says that, Ya Rasulullah, you are the stream of Noor. Tu hai aine Noor tera sab gharana Noor ka, that all of your family and your children and the household, all of them, we believe they are Noor and they are light of the guidance. And we listen to Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Hassan Mujtaba and his beautiful seerah. We also listen to Sayyida Kainat Khatun Jannat radiyallahu ta'ala anha's beautiful life very briefly. I mentioned yesterday about her when she was born, the year of birth. There was a little bit of confusion from my side. I mentioned that Sayyida Kainat was born in 3rd year of Hijri, whereas this is the year when Hazrat Imam Hassan Mujtaba, or 2nd year or 3rd year, Hazrat Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was born. Bibi Fatimatu Zahra radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she was born when Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam was 41 years old, which means 1 year, and according to Imam Jawzi, 4 years after Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam announced about his prophethood, Hazrat Sayyida Kainat radiyallahu ta'ala anha was born then, prior to 1 year or 5 years of the announcement of prophethood of Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because when she migrated at the age of 18, she was married to Hazrat Sayyidina Ali Sharif Khuda radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Just to clear this confusion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave her 2 very beautiful sons. The youngest daughter of Rasul Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I mentioned, gave her 2 most respected and most loved children which the world has not seen. Until the day of Qiyamah, we believe that they will be the most beloved to the ummah of Rasul Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Hazrat Imam Hassan Mujtaba, he left the dunya. His shahadat is one of the most painful shahadat, and his departure brought enormous grief to his youngest brother, Hazrat Imam Hussein Shahid Karbala radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. If you look at the life of Hazrat Imam Hassan Mujtaba, there are two things that I would like to mention which I could not mention yesterday as there was not enough time. If you look at the life of Imam Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the eldest grandson of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, his life is entirely filled with sakhawat, generosity and tolerance. Two things we find in the life of Sayyidina Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that he was extremely generous, and not only Sayyidina Imam Hassan, every single Sayyid, with the wasila of Hazrat Imam Hassan and wasila of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you'll find them extremely generous. You'll see them that they may not have much in terms of physical wealth, but they will always be generous. They will always give people when they are in need. This is what Allah has granted them. The tolerance, as we see, that Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, in the light of the hadith of Rasul Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, that being a Khalifa, having 40,000 people ready and waiting for his command to fight with anyone who Khalifa would say, but still Hazrat Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he did sulah and compromise with Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. In the time of Sayyidina Imam Hassan Mujtaba, and this is the reason that Shia and Rafidis, they don't talk much about Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiyallahu ta'ala. You'll find them, they talk a lot about Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Hussain, Shaheed Karbala, but they would hardly take the name of Sayyidina Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiyallahu ta'ala. And one of the main reason is the sulah and the compromise that and Sayyidina Imam Hassan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu leaving the Khilafah and giving the way to Hazrat Amir Muawiyah to lead, that was one of the main reasons. Even in that time, there were a group of people who used to say, and they used to taunt Hazrat Imam Hassan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu as, they would call him Arul Mu'mineen. You know what the meaning of Ar? And to use this word for the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it means Ar means shame. You know, when you do something shameful and someone says, there's shame on you, they used to say that Imam Hassan, this person is the shame of Mu'mineen, ma'azallah. Because why did he compromise with Amir Muawiyah? But the reply that Imam Hassan used to give, Imam Hassan said, Ar is better than Nar. Which means that thousands of Muslims being killed, it is better for me to leave the Khilafat than these many Muslims being killed. Imam Hassan did compromise, as we learned that it is from the Sahih Hadith of Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam that this son of mine is Sayyid, and he'll bring peace between two very huge groups of Muslims. Prophet said two groups of Muslims. He didn't say that one group of Muslim and one group of Kafir, ma'azallah. Prophet classed both of them. Those who are with Hazrat Imam Hassan and those who are with Amir Muawiyah. Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam said to both of them, addressing and taking them in his Sahih Hadith as Muslimin. Two groups of Muslims. He'll bring peace. And he did so. He became the great reason for peace among the Muslims. Otherwise, the history has seen in Jang-e Siffin, in Jang-e Jamal, thousands of Muslims. And if I give you the number, you'll be shocked that how many Muslims were martyred in those battles. Only in one battle from one side, 42,000 Muslims, and from the other side, 27,000 Muslims were martyred. Among them were Huffaz. Among them were learned people, Ashab. And both of them, they fought thinking that they are on the right path. Yes? Now, what happened among the Sahaba, be it in Jangi Jamal, between Sayyidina Aisha Siddiqa and those who were with her, and Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and in Jangi Siffin, between Hazrat Amir Muawiyah and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. But one aqidah and one belief that Ahlul Sunnah hold, that in these, who was on the right path? Hazrat Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. In those battles, Hazrat Ali was on the right. And the others, they made a mistake. Now this mistake, what do we class this mistake as? Because people argue and people say that a hadith they mention, the ayat of Quran they mention, that killing any Muslim, it takes you out of Islam. Which means those who killed Muslims and were against Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they killed other Muslims. Thousands of them, they died. And therefore, should we class them believers or not? This is the question, and it's a serious question. But the answer is that there are several ways to look at these stories and these events. When these events took place, Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was defending what he decided not to take revenge of the murderers of Sayyidina Usman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala. And those who stood against him, they had in their mind that the one who cannot take the revenge of the murder of a Khalifatul Muslimin, how can he lead? But in this, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala was on the right path. The others, they made khatai ijtihadi. And this is every single alim of Ahlul Sunnah. The mutaqaddimun and mutaakhirun, all of them, they agree on this. There was khatai ijtihadi from the side of Sayyida Aisha Siddiqa as well as from the side of Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. What is khatai ijtihadi now? Now, khatai ijtihadi is something when you do thinking that what you are doing is right and you are on the right path, but in that you make mistake. For example, there is a mujtahid who does research in Islam, who does research in fiqh. He comes up with the rule after his research, after his ijtihad, but he made a mistake. Now what is the ruling? Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he has mentioned that when a mujtahid researcher, a scholar who is doing research makes a mistake, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still gives him one reward. And if he is correct in his research, in his outcome, he gets two rewards. Making mistake is also reward for him, and being correct is double the reward. Why? The reason is his intention. His intention wasn't to mislead the ummah. Likewise, those who were against Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, their intention was pure. They did not fight for their own desires. They fought thinking that this is the right decision for the deen of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. For you and I, and this is something that we should always remember, and this is something we have to keep in our mind, that for you and I, our tongues and our mouth, they should be closed when it comes to these events and these battles that took place between the companions. We are not on the caliber when we can judge them. We are not on the level where we can say that this was right and this was wrong and this Sahabi did this and this Sahabi did that. They were Ashabi Rasul. What they did, Allah will be judged among them, between them. We are not here to judge. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala हम सब को अपने ईमान की हिफाजत की tawfiq-e rafiq ata farmaye. It is very important to protect our own iman. एक मरतबा दुरूद पाक पढ़ लें. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला सय्यिदिना व हबीबिना व मौलाना मुहम्मद व आलिहि व सहबिहि व बारिक व सल्लिम सल्लल्लाहु ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. The youngest grandson of Rasul Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, he is very well known among people. From the young age, as soon as the month of Muharram Sharif comes, we hear about the Shahadat, we hear about the courage, we hear about the martyrdom of not only Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, but the entire family who were there supporting him and standing their ground. We listened to them and we grew up like that. That Muharram is about Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu and the Shuhada of Karbala Mu'alla. And there is a reason. Scholars have mentioned that the kind of steadfastness and the way Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he stood in Karbala with his entire family. In the entire Islamic history, this kind of steadfastness and this sort of jazba and courage is not found. People did go for battles and fought. People did, travel from far and wide to fight for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they went alone. They went with the intention to fight, fully prepared to fight in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was in Karbala, he had his wives with him. He had his daughters with him. He had his sons with him. A youngest one, 6 months old, Sayyiduna Ali Asghar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. All of them, with his entire family, he was there. And still, his words that he gave to the people of Yazid, he did not move from those words. This is the difference between Yazid and Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. You see the difference? That Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu was not a wrong person in his character. Amir Muawiyah was not a person who was accused of committing haram. He was a Sahabi. And Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was a courageous person. If Amir Muawiyah was a wrong person to lead the ummah, we believe, and this is our aqidah, that Hazrat Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu would never compromise. His compromise and his sulah shows that Amir Muawiyah was not a wrong person in his character. Being a Muslim, being a leader, he was a leader, and Hazrat Imam Hassan saw that. But Imam Hussein saw what was in Yazid. Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he observed and he thought about the future, that if I give my hand in the hand of Yazid and accept Yazid as the Khalifa, as a leader of Muslims, then this ummah and the Sharia will be wiped from the face of earth. Looking at his character, which we'll listen later on. So Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu is remembered for that. And he is remembered for his martyrdom and his steadfastness. The names that Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam chose, Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu was born a year and a half after Sayyidina Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So not a very long gap between Sayyidina Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Before he was born, a lady known as Ida al-Fazl. Sayyidah al-Fazl is the wife of Hazrat Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who is the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So she was auntie of Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So Mishkat Sharif, Sahib Mishkat, he mentioned this occasion, and he says that Fazl, she comes to Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, and she said, Ya Rasulullah, I had a dream. In my dream I saw that a piece of from your body, piece of meat from your body has been placed in my lap. When I woke up, I was extremely anxious about this. What is the dream telling me? When she came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم رأيت خيرا. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you have seen some goodness. Now visibly, if you think about the dream from the outer side, it seems like there will be some loss. The Prophet said, this dream is good. What will happen? Prophet ﷺ explained to her that Talidu Fatimatu insha'Allahu ghulaman yakunu fi hijriki. The Fatima, my daughter, say the Fatima was pregnant then. The Fatima, my daughter, will give birth to a son, waladan. A boy, she'll give birth to a boy, and that boy will come in your lap. The grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will come in your lap. Now the Mu'arrikhun, they say that dream came true. In 4th Hijri, in Sha'banul Mu'azzam, on 5th day of Sha'ban, Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Hussein, Shaheed Karbala radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, was born in the house of Bibi Fatimatu Zahra radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Now Sayyidah Fazl, she says, I was there. When Bibi Fatima gave birth, I was there. As soon as Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala was born, after his birth, he was given to me. And the dream I had, the dream I saw, that a piece from the meat of Rasul Kareem, from the body of Prophet ﷺ, came into my lap. That was Imam Hussein. In my lap, I was holding him. Subhanallah. Which means the arrival of that beautiful grandson, it was given, the news given by Rasul Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Prophet ﷺ, just as he gave the name of Hazrat Imam Hassan, the eldest grandson, on 7th day after Sayyidina Imam Hussein was born, Rasul Kareem ﷺ, he gave name Hussein to Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu on 7th day. Prophet ﷺ gave azan in the right ear and iqamat in the left ear, and the aqiqah of Hazrat Imam Hussein Shaheed Karbala was done. If you look at the ahadith that Rasul Kareem ﷺ mentions about the virtues of these great personalities, just look at their names, Hassan and Hussein. Did anyone before the grandsons of Prophet ﷺ have had these names? So Hadith Pak says that Inna Allah hajaba isma al-Hasani wal-Husayn hatta samma bihim al-Nabiy sallallahu alayhi wasallam ibnayhi al-Hasan wal-Husayn. The hadith says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is in Usudul Ghaba, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hajaba, kept these names hidden from people. Allah ne in naamon ko छुपा के रखा. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept these names Hussein and Hassan hidden from people until Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam gave these names to his grandsons. Subhanallah. Mean even their names, the names of the grandsons of Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, they were hidden by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were kept secret by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because Allah loved for these names to be the name of Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam's grandson. In another hadith, it's been mentioned by Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, वो फरमाते हैं कि सुइला रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम, it was asked to Rasul Kareem Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, ayyu ahli baytika habbu ilayk, Ya Rasulullah, which of your family members are most beloved to you? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al Hasanu wal Hussein. Hassan and Hussein are the most beloved to me. And in our families, it is pretty much the same. That when your daughter's children and when there are your son's children, you love them more than your daughter and your son. This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having the love for your grandchildren, having the love for the children in your family is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are many people that they can't connect to their own grandchildren. When they come, they feel detached. They feel like, when will they go? But Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, he taught us that looking after your grandchildren, having affection and love for your grandchildren is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In one of the hadiths, it's been mentioned that one day Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, he was sitting. Whilst he was sitting, a Sahabi was next to him. Sayyidina Imam Hassan or Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, they came. Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam held them and kissed their forehead. Now the person who was next to Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, a Sahabi, he said, Ya Rasulullah, do you kiss your children? Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, this love and this affection is placed in the heart by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the Sahabi said, I have 10 of them. I don't show these to them. Prophet ﷺ told the Sahabi that caring about them and looking after them and having love for your grandchildren is what you should have, is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to have. And then in another hadith Pak, Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam in Tirmidhi Sharif, he says that Anna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam akhadha biyadi Hasanin wa Husainin. Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, he held the hands of Hazrat Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. And then he said, قال من أحبني وأحب هذين وأباهما وأمهما كان معي في درجتي يوم القيامة. Anyone who loves these two, and the one who loves their mother, and the one who loves their father, on the day of Qiyamah, he will be in the same place as I am. I mean, he'll be very close to Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Loving Ahlul Bayt, loving the household of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, loving the family of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, it takes you close to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It takes you close to Rasul Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Another hadith, Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam stated, khayru rijalikum Ali ibn Abi Talib, that best men among you is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Wa khayru shababikum al-Hasan wal-Husayn, and the best young man among you is Hassan and Hussein. Wa khayru nisaikum Fatimatu binti Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the best women among you is Fatimatu Zahra, my youngest daughter. Whose verdict is this? The verdict of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, and many other ahadith which we will find when it comes to the virtues of this great companion and this great grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. We could imagine that Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam is the one who looked after his grandson. So Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala, who is early age, he has spent looking at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Every single affair of Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he looked at and he grew up. And one day, when it comes to correcting your own children, we learn from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. When you see your child and you know that he is not doing something right, you should not hesitate to tell him there and then and correct him. Prophet ﷺ, one day, he was sitting and some dates of sadaqah, in sadaqah wajibah came to Rasul Pak ﷺ in a plate. Now, Hazrat Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, being a child and young, he comes and he picks up a date and puts in his mouth. He was a child. Sharia was not imposed upon him yet. He wasn't bound to act upon Sharia as a young child, because all the ahkam of Sharia, they come after you are baligh, you reach to the age of puberty. Until then, there is no question to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Rasul Kareem taught you and I. What Prophet ﷺ did, straight away, Prophet ﷺ, he put his finger in the mouth of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu and took it out. And Prophet said, Kakh, kakh, remove it. This is not for you, because you are among the Sadat. Yes? Anything which is zakat or sadaqat wajibah is not for Sadat. They cannot eat from there. Why? Because we learn the ayah, innama yuridullahu bikum liyudhiba ankum rijs. Innama yuridullahu liyudhiba ankum rijsa ahlal bayti wa yutahhirakum tathira. Allah wants to take the impurity away from you. And zakat is impurity of our wealth. How can a Sayyid have that in his mouth? Today, we lack in this. Our parents, हमारे जो माँ बाप हैं, कभी कभी उनका बच्चा जो पैसे खर्च करता है, 18 साल का है, महंगी महंगी चीज़ें खरीदता है, हम उसको पूछते भी नहीं है कि ये पैसा कहाँ से लाया तू, मैं तो नहीं देता हूँ तुझे, न तेरा जॉब इतना भारी है और हाई है कि ये तू अफोर्ड कर सके, तू लाया कहाँ से, हम नहीं पूछते हैं. हम खुश होते हैं, बड़ा अच्छा पहन रहा है, खुद ही अपना लुक आफ्टर कर रहा है. क्या कभी हमने सोचा कि ये किसी ऐसे गलत धंधे में पड़ा होगा जहाँ वो ड्रग डील कर रहा हो, 2-4 पैकेट कहीं उसने डिलीवर किए और पैसे मिल गए. तो अपने बच्चों की रहन सहन और उसके पहनावे पे और उसके खाने पे हमेशा हमारी नजर होनी चाहिए कि ये क्या पहनता है, क्या खाता है, मैंने इसको क्या लाके दिया है और ये खर्च क्या करता है. अगर इस पे नजर रखेंगे तो फिर आपको पता चलेगा कि आपका बच्चा किस रास्ते पे चल रहा है. It is the duty of parents to know what the child is wearing, where is he going, why is he coming late at night. He cannot give you answer of, I was with my friends. That's not the answer. And that's not the answer you should accept. The answer should be clear. You should be home on time. If you are not home, I need to know, where are you? I need to know everything. Which friend? Ring the friend, ask them, was he with you? And is that friend the right person to be with? If not, then you will be responsible on the day of Qiyamah for not leading your children in the right path. Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, he taught his grandson from the young age that this is not something that you should take. Even if somebody is Sayyid, it is extremely important for them not to take zakat from anyone, not to take sadaqat wajibah from anyone, because it is not for them. It is for those who are in need and not Sayyid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you that privilege, and it comes with the responsibility. Sayyidina Imam Hussein Shahid Karbala radiyallahu ta'ala, who grew up with such upbringing that Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam looked after him in such way. Allama ibn Hajar Asqalani rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he mentions one of the hadiths that one day, and Sayyidina Abu Huraira is the narrator of this, that one day Sayyidina Imam Hassan and Sayyidina Imam Hussein Shahid Karbala, both grandsons of Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the younger one and the older one, they were playing and they were having they were wrestling. At that time, Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam was there, Hazrat Bibi Fatima Zahra, their mother, she was there too. Now, Prophet ﷺ, he started encouraging Imam Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who is the older grandson. Prophet ﷺ giving him instructions. And Bibi Fatima Zahra radiallahu ta'ala anha, she looked at Prophet ﷺ and she said that, Ya Rasulullah, you are helping Hassan who is older. He's the older grandson. You should be helping the younger one because he needs your support and encouragement. Allahu Akbar. Listen to the reply of Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we can understand the station and the status of these great personalities. Rasul Pak alayhi salatu wasalam, he said that, Fatima, you are looking at me giving support to Hassan. Look at Jibreel, he's supporting Hussein. Mean those malaika who used to bring message to the Anbiya, they were there to entertain the grandsons of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave this great maqam to these great personalities of the grandsons of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam. Then Rasul Pak alayhi salatu wasalam, he says that Ya'la ibn Murrah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he is the narrator of this hadith. Prophet said, Husainu minni wa ana minal Husain. Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein. What is the meaning? Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he taught you and I that there is nothing between me and my grandson. You love me, you love my grandson. If you don't love my grandson, you cannot love me. Loving Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, loving Imam Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu is the proof that we love Rasul Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Then in another hadith, Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, his Sahabi states that Barra ibn Azib radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that Ra'aytu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam hamil al-Husayni ala atiqihi. I saw Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam carrying Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu on his shoulder. وَهُوَ يَقُولُ, and Prophet was saying this, and Sahaba heard this. What was Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam was saying? Prophet was saying, Allahumma inni uhibbuhu fa'ahibbahu. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I love Hussein and you love him too. Mean, Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam's wish is that he loved Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he wanted you and I, and he wanted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to love his grandson. What a great maqam and what a great status Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted to these great personalities. Sahih ibn Hibban, he mentions that Sami'atu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala anhu is the narrator of this hadith, that Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam states, Sami'atu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam yaqul, Huzur alayhi salatu wasalam, he said that anyone who would be happy to look at a Jannati or the leader of the Jannati, leader of those who will enter in paradise, Prophet ﷺ said, فَلْيَنْظُرْ إِلَى الْحُسَيْنِ ibn Ali. Then he should look at Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Which means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu the leadership of the youth in Jannah. Now those who were involved in the martyrdom of Hazrat Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu and his children and his ashab, is there any salvation for them? Is there any raham that they are expecting from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of Qiyamah? We believe that there will be no mercy upon them on the day of Qiyamah. Hazrat Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he acquired great qualities from Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, and his mother Sayyida Khatun Jannat Fatimatu Zahra radiyallahu ta'ala anha, and his father Sayyidina Ali karramallahu ta'ala wajhahul kareem. One of the occasions that's been mentioned by Hazrat Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu ta'ala. He states that one day I was sitting with Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And in some narration, this has been mentioned about Sayyidina Imam Hassan radiyallahu ta'ala. So I was sitting with Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala, and one of the servant, one of the slave lady, she came with a bouquet of flower. And she greeted Hazrat Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu by gifting those flowers. Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he smelt these flowers and then called her. And he said, from today you are free. From today you are free. You don't need to serve me. Your life, whatever you would like to do with your life is yours. Now Hazrat Anas radiyallahu ta'ala says that the Sahaba said to him that she gave a very minimal gift to you, which was a bouquet of flower, and you freed her just like that. Look at the reply of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated that وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا. Yes? That when people greet you, in other words, when people do salam to you, then your reply should be with the better words. Your reply should be, if someone says, Assalamu alaikum, then your reply should be, Wa alaikum assalam, adding one more, Wa rahmatullah. If someone says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, your reply should be, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, adding to what they said. Hazrat Imam Hussein said, she greeted me with these beautiful flower. My reply to her greetings should be better than what she gave me. What could be better for her than her freedom? And therefore, I freed her. The generosity and the depth of understanding of the Holy Quran, who could have better than the grandsons of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Another occasion, Imam Zainul Abidin radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he mentioned that my father, means Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he used to look after the orphans and needy people in such a way that many times he would give everything away and they themselves had nothing to eat at home. Now, if we look at our lives, we are very insecure people. We try to do everything to secure our base first. Do I have enough for the whole month? Do I have enough for my children because they are growing up? They need to be married and I'll need this much. Many of us have funds on the side for our children because we care about them. But Ahl Bayt Athhar and the teachings of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam to his grandsons were such that they would not keep anything for themselves. They would give everything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They would stay hungry. In the life of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and in the life of Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha, she says that many of the times, in the family of Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, nothing would be cooked for 3 days. Because there was nothing to cook. There was no meat. There was no saman. There was no ghee. There was nothing that they could use to cook. Instead, they would eat date and water and live on that for 3 days. And this is not once. They say many times this has happened, that in the family of Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they had nothing to eat or cook, and there was no fire that they would use to cook, as they had no food to cook. Hazrat Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he kept this habit of the family of Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam, that being a Sayyid, he would feed everyone, whether he has or not. How much of this quality do we have? How insecure are we? Many times we don't even give our zakat properly. We don't. But then sometimes Allah guides us. As people come to us for questions, we had an individual who came. He's got a business, and he said for years, Maulana, long time, he can't even remember for how many years, we haven't calculated our zakat and paid. We only give just like that. This is a dangerous path. Whatever zakat is first on you, you must give. This is not about zakat, this is about his own thing that he used to use for the family, he would give it away. And then it's been mentioned, Ibn Asakir, he mentioned that once a beggar came to Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, a sa'il, he comes and he knocked on the door. He was praying salah. Quickly he completed his salah and he comes out. And he looked at the state of the person who was asking. He looked extremely needy. Hazrat Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he asked his khadim to give him 200 dirhams. Yes? The khadim brought 200 dirhams. But then he quietly said that, Huzur, these 200 dirhams that you are planning to give him, these are the only ones we have to spend for the family. Nothing left. Our insecurity, our fear of poverty is extreme. But these great personalities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had no fear. Our young people today, they start working from the age of 16 and 17. What is their goal? I will save some money and I'll spend on myself. At the age of 18, they are wearing 450 pounds worth of shoes. One pair of shoes, 450 pounds. How can you afford this? Maulana, I work. Does your parents not ask you? I don't need to give it to my parents. It's my money, I spend on myself. This is how we are now. We have become the slaves of money. We do not hesitate to spend on ourselves. How many of us, when we come for Jummah, we actually put our hand in our pocket and give it to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of Allah? Many of us do. I'm not counting everyone. But in general, we are very insecure people when it comes to giving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, bring it. He gave it to him. And then he replied to his khadim. He replied to his servant. He said that our needs are greater. Their needs, those who came to our door, are greater than our needs. We should fulfill their needs before we look after ourselves and our needs. अपनी ज़रूरतों से पहले दूसरे की ज़रूरत पूरी करना, ये हज़रत इमाम आली मक़ाम इमाम हुसैन रदियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु का तरीक़ा है. When we talk about the shahadat of Sayyidina Imam Ali Maqam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the martyrdom and the waqiyat and the news of the shahadat of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was talked even in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he knew. The companions of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, they knew. The mother of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Khatun Jannat Bibi Fatimatu Zahra radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she knew that my son would be martyred at some point. And Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he stated in one of the hadiths, he says that Atani Jibreel fa'akhbarani anna ummati sataqtulu ibni hadha. That Jibreel came to me and he informed me, he gave me this news that my ummatis, people who claim to be the ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people who pray the kalima of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they will kill my grandson. They will take the life of my grandson. But interestingly, Prophet ﷺ in his entire life never made dua that, Ya Allah, prevent this martyrdom from my son. Safeguard my grandson from this calamity. Instead, Rasul Kareem ﷺ always prayed for the istiqamat. He prayed for the steadfastness of Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Hussein, Shaheed Karbala, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Because this shahadat and this martyrdom was from such destiny that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had destined this for Hazrat Imam Hussein, Shaheed Karbala, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Rasul Pak alayhi salatu wasalam, one of the Ummul Mu'mineen, Sayyidah Salma radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Now she mentions, it's been mentioned in Mishkat as well as Mu'jamul Kabir. Now she mentioned that Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam once, he gave me some soil. And he said to me that, O Salma, إذا تحولت هذه التربة دما فاعلمي أن ابني قد قتل. That, O Salma, when this soil turns into the blood, daman, then you should know that my grandson Hussein has been martyred. Now, why Rasul Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam gave it to Sayyidah Salma and not any other Ummul Mu'mineen? Yes, those Ummahatul Mu'mineen who were alive then, among them he chose Sayyidah Salma radiyallahu ta'ala anha because she was the only one who remained alive until Hazrat Imam Hussein was martyred on 10th of Muharram in Karbala. Prophet knew that she will be there and she will witness and she will know that Imam Hussein, my grandson, has been martyred. Now the reasons of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and why Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu did not accept Yazid as the leader of believers, that's another story which we will continue inshallah. But before that, very quickly let me mention about Yazid. Yazid is son of Hazrat Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Now who is Amir Muawiyah? Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu is Sahabi Rasul, a Sahabi of Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. And among Sahaba, he was chosen to write the Wahi and to write the Quran. There were approximately 12 people among Sahaba who wrote the Quran for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imla basically. Prophet would say, they would write. Now among those, there are two who wrote the most. And among those two, one of is Hazrat Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. In the time of Sayyidina Abu Bakr, as far as I remember, he was made to look the governor of Syria, where the capital of Syria, Damascus was his center then, and he was looking after all the affairs there. And later, in the time of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, this leadership remained, and he was made the leader of the entire Syria. So he established his ruling there. Even in the time of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was looking after the entire Syria. What became the reason of conflict between Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu and Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah then? Because Khulafa were there. In the time of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Amir Muawiyah was leading in Syria. Then in the time of Sayyidina Umar, he was still there. In the time of Sayyidina Osman, what about the conflicts in the time of Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu then? Then the conflict between Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu and Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah was for the same reason as Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa and the group of Sahaba stood up. And the reason was that when Hazrat Usman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu was martyred, and he was martyred in Medina, he was martyred in the presence of some of the great Sahaba being in the same city, and by those who came from outside of Medina, came from Egypt. The revenge of the Shahadat and the martyrdom of Hazrat Usman Ghani should be taken. That was the demand. And that was their point. According to them, this demand was legit because nobody should come in our city and kill the Khalifa of that time. But Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he knew, and what he did was right. And the ulama say that he was on the right. That if we don't know who killed Hazrat Usman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu, then who are you going to kill as a revenge? As a punishment, who are you going to kill? And this became the reason of conflict between the Sahaba. On one side, at some point, it was Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah. At some point, it was Sayyida Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. When Amir Muawiyah was departing from this dunya, now about him, anyone who opens their mouth talking ill about any companion, not just Amir Muawiyah, any companion, that person will be classed as out of Ahlul Sunnati wa Jama'at. And if he's talking out of the hatred of that Sahabi, then it will be kufr. Because you cannot disrespect a Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knowingly. If someone believes that Amir Muawiyah was ma'azallah not Muslim, that person will become kafir. Okay, so when Hazrat Amir Muawiyah was leaving from this dunya, he made Yazid to look after the affairs of Islam. Now the reasons behind that could be many, but one of the reasons is a Khalifa has right to choose their disciple. When the agreement took place between Hazrat Amir Muawiyah and Hazrat Imam Hassan Mujtaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that agreement said that when Amir Muawiyah passes away, then the Khilafat will go to Hazrat Imam Hassan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Now Hazrat Imam Hassan passed away. Therefore, those who claim that Amir Muawiyah broke this treaty, they need to think, they need to understand that in which way Hazrat Amir Muawiyah broke the treaty. When he was passing away and he gave Khilafat, or he gave this leadership to Yazid, he gave some advice to Yazid. And he said to him that when Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he reaches to certain level in terms of leading, this leadership and Khilafat should go back to Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu. His family and Ahlul Bayt should be treated fairly, and they should be looked after the way I looked after them. And he departed from this dunya. But then Yazid was not of the character like Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Now people argue that if Yazid wasn't the right person and he was fasiq and fajir and open sinner, why did Hazrat Amir Muawiyah gave him the leadership when he was leaving and departing from this dunya? So the answer to that, the scholars have given that the habits of Yazid that people saw later on, they were not apparent in the time and in the life of Hazrat Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Or do you believe that a Sahabi Rasul, the one who wrote the Holy Quran, the one who narrated so many ahadith, he would give the leadership to someone who was open sinner? Then the Quran will be in doubt. Because he must have written some ayat of Quran which we still pray. Then you pick up Bukhari, Muslim and many books of ahadith. You have many books of ahadith and muhaddisun who have narrated the ahadith of Hazrat Amir Muawiyah. If he was a wrong and not a kind of person that should be classed as Sahabi, and narrated from. Why would Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim take the ahadith and quote and mention ahadith of Amir Muawiyah in their books? They did so. That shows that Hazrat Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he gave this leadership to Yazid, at that time Yazid was on the right path. Maybe he was showing that he is on the right path. Whichever way, everything that came in the light was after the passing away of Hazrat Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. What Yazid did, how he treated Muslims, how he treated Haramain Tayyibain, we will look into it from tomorrow, inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala. So we have 2 days left, tomorrow and day after. We'll try and conclude this story all the way to Karbala and few bits of after Karbala, inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum. सभी हज़रात सलातो सलाम के लिए खड़े हो जाएं. शेखैन बिस्मिल्लाह.
يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك يا رسول الله صلوات الله عليك طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا يا رسول الله ما دعا لله داعي يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك يا رسول الله صلوات الله عليك فيك يا بدر تجلى فلك الوصف الحسين ليس أزكى منك أصلا يا رسول الله قط يا جد الحسين يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك يا رسول الله صلوات الله عليك إن في الجنة نهرا من لبن إن في الجنة نهرا من لبن لعلي وحسين وحسن الله لعلي وحسين وحسن حب أهل البيت فرض عندنا حب أهل البيت فرض عندنا وبهذا الحب لا نخشى المحن الله وبهذا الحب لا نخشى المحن إن في الجنة نهرا من لبن إن في الجنة نهرا من لبن لعلي وحسين وحسن
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ونبينا مولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم وآلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم. مولا کریم آج کی اس محفل پاک کو اپنی بارگاہ میں شرف قبولیت عطا فرما. جتنا بھی ذکر خیر ہوا تیرے پاک بندوں کا، ان تمام کو اپنی بارگاہ میں قبول فرما. اس کا ثواب سب سے پہلے
حنیف بھائی نے 6000 تو
حنیف بھائی ہمارے، انہوں نے 6000 مرتبہ درود شریف پڑھا ہے. اور خاص طور پہ ایک حادثہ حضرت علامہ قمر الزمان اعظمی خان صاحب، ان کے ینگ لڑکے جو ہیں، سب سے ینگسٹ ون، ان کا ایکسیڈنٹ میں انڈیا میں انتقال ہو گیا. تو ان کے لیے خصوصی جو ہے دعا کی گزارش ہے. تو اللہ تعالیٰ ان کی بھی مغفرت فرمائے. میرا خیال ہے کہ اذان کا وقت ہو رہا ہے تو دعا کر لیتے ہیں. چلیں. اللہم صلی وسلم وبارک علی سیدنا و حبیبنا مولانا محمد و آلہ و صحبہ وبارک وسلم. مولا کریم ان تمام اعمال خیر کو اپنی بارگاہ میں شرف قبولیت عطا فرما. سب سے پہلے رسول کریم رؤوف الرحیم کی بارگاہ عظمت پناہ میں اس کو نذر کرتے ہیں، قبول فرما. رسول کریم علیہ الصلوۃ والسلام کے وسیلے سے جملہ انبیاء کرام اور رسولان نظام کی مقدس ارواح کو ایصال کرتے ہیں، قبول فرما. اہل بیت اطہار حضور کریم کے جملہ صاحبزادے صاحبزادیاں، خاصتاً سید کائنات سیدہ طیبہ طاہرہ حضرت فاطمۃ الزہرا رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کی روح پرفتوح کو ایصال کرتے ہیں، قبول فرما. حضرات حسنین کریمین رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہما، خصوصاً بالخصوص حضرت سیدنا و سندنا امام حسین شہید کربلا رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ اور تمام شہداء کرب و بلا کی ارواح کو ایصال کرتے ہیں، قبول فرما. حضور کے جملہ صحابہ، خاصتاً عاشر مبشرہ، جملہ صحابیات، تابعات، طب تابعات، ائمہ مجتہدین، تابعین، طب تابعین کی ارواح کو ایصال کرتے ہیں، قبول فرما. حضور کی امت کے جملہ اولیاء کاملین، خصوصاً بالخصوص حضرت پیر پیرا سیدنا شیخ عبد القادر جیلانی، داتا گنج بخش علی حجویری، حضرت خواجہ معین الدین چشتی حسن سنجری اور جملہ سلاسل عالیہ کے تمام بزرگان دین کی ارواح کو ایصال کرتے ہیں، قبول فرما. ان تمام کے فیض و برکات سے مالا مال فرما. پھر خصوصاً بالخصوص حضرت علامہ قمر الزمان اعظمی صاحب کے صاحبزادے کی روح پاک کو ایصال کرتے ہیں، قبول فرما. مولا کریم ان کی بے حساب مغفرت فرما. جنت الفردوس میں اعلیٰ ترین مقام عطا فرما. اور خصوصاً بالخصوص حضرت علامہ قمر الزمان اعظمی اور ان کے جتنے بھی اہل خانہ ہیں، ان تمام کو صبر جمیل عطا فرما. مولا کریم اس جان کا حادثے میں ان کا حامی اور ناصر ہو. مولا کریم اپنے کرم سے جتنے حاضرین، ان کے جتنے بھی مرحومین مؤمنین ہیں، سب کی مغفرت فرما. جو اپنے گھروں میں سن رہے ہیں، مولا کریم ان تمام کے مرحومین کی اپنے کرم سے مغفرت فرما. جو آن لائن سن رہے ہیں، مولا کریم ان تمام کے مرحومین مؤمنین کو جنت الفردوس میں اعلیٰ مقام عطا فرما. سب پر اپنا فضل و کرم فرما. جتنے حاضرین شوق و ذوق کے ساتھ اس محفل یاد شہدائے کرب و بلا میں حاضر ہوتے ہیں، مولا کریم ان تمام کی حاضری کو اخروی نجات کا ذریعہ بنا. دنیا اور آخرت میں بھلائیاں عطا فرما. دینی دنیاوی پریشانیوں کو دور فرما. جسمانی جتنی بیماریاں ہیں سب سے نجات عطا فرما. جتنے بھی بیمار ہیں سب کو شفاء کاملہ و عاجلہ عطا فرما. مولا کریم بہت سے لوگ مسجد کی خدمتیں خاموشی کے ساتھ کرتے رہتے ہیں، ان تمام کی خدمتوں کو اپنی بارگاہ میں قبول فرما. مسجد کا جس طرح سے بھی جو لک آفٹر کرتا ہے، مولا کریم تو علیم و خبیر ہے، ان تمام کو اس پر دنیا اور آخرت میں بہترین اجر و ثواب عطا فرما. جتنی ہماری مائیں اور بہنیں مسجد کا خیال رکھتی ہیں، مولا کریم ان تمام کو بھی دارین کی سعادتیں عطا فرما. ہم سب کو دین و دنیا کی بھلائیاں عطا فرما. عالم اسلام پر اپنا فضل و کرم فرما. مولا کریم جہاں کئی مسلمان پریشان حال ہیں، ان تمام کو اپنا فضل، اپنا رحم عطا فرما. ایمان پر ہم سب کو زندہ رکھ. ایمان پر خاتمہ بالخیر عطا فرما. اس مجلس شہدائے کرب و بلا کے صدقے میں ہم تمام کی دینی دنیاوی پریشانیوں کو دور فرما. صلی اللہ تعالی علی خیر خلقہ و نور عرشہ محمد و آلہ و صحبہ اجمعین برحمتک یا ارحم الراحمین. جزاکم اللہ once again for attending today's program. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all, the younger ones, the older ones. Allah